Hello, this is episode 2 of the men, the Freemasons who stole the world, and this is where we left off. Des Gauliers, John Theophilus, 1683 to 1744, elected a member of the Royal Society of London, and that is the Royal Society that invites Frank Griffin and my old boss at Tag University to become Royal Society members. Became experimental assistant to Freemason Sir Isaac Newton, who makes the joke about the apple dropping in the orchard. And all of the original sins of the female gender who are not allowed to be Freemasons. I'm not sure why he's got his magnifying glass pointing at the 6 squares on his jacket. All of them have the regalia, and they are linked to the sayers of killing kittens. See also Anthony Sayer below, and they are also linked to Arsenal London, and the massive jokes about the Rothschild mansions there and the Arsenal dynasties being the pharaohs of Egypt that are the Arsenos. Premier Grand Lodge of England. See also Anthony Sayer below. So we're on the move again. I must not take so long. And that is the man that we started off with the last time. I wish I'd known he was next down. Maybe he's not. Oh, he's not. But we're going to have to make the most of it. So that's the Gatling gun inventors. And these are the Hanoverian kings and queens that are the Masons out of Ireland, and eventually out of the Rhineland and the Azure Main. And we've celebrated already the writing of that Rule Britannia song by the composer and by the lyrics writer. Huge jokes against the British democracy in inverted commas. But this is about globalism. So let me take you back up to Des Gauliers. Oh, I've got it, still got it on slightly compressed mode. Let me change that. Oh no, we'll just live with it. Just live with it. It's not quite as big as the images we were seeing the last time. So Des Gauliers. There's more spacemen. There's more monarchs. There's more abdicated kings, there's more murderous bloodlines. That's Edward VII. He's a massive fraudster. He had to kill the child of Queen Victoria that was the legitimate claimant to the throne at that time, Marcos Manoel, and then the Queen, HRH Queen Elizabeth II, had to kill Greg Hallett using the Met Police, because he told the whole story about the illegitimacy. There's the man that we stopped on. Des Gauliers, William Harrison. That's the Harrisons. He successfully defended his title 5 times before. Oh no, it's a boxer. Des Gauliers, Anthony. So they're in the Sayers, they're in the modern speculative Freemasonry. That's the P2 lodges that run the HSBC and all of the massive banking empires on behalf of Rothschild and the leading Illuminati family. Next one up is Dole Bob Dole, a decorated and wounded veteran of World War II, a US congressman and senator from Kansas, being the majority and minority leader, a US senator and a nominee for president. Bob Dole was never deviated from his basic track, constantly a humanitarian, that is, the brutalization of Vietnam. Philanthropist and stalwart Freemason, a member of Russell Lodge. The Freemasonic links to the Freemason that was TAZE Russell, and the head of the Jehovah's movement entirely for profit and to implant people into every region across our globe, the most sophisticated religious movement. Here's the Doolittles. A pioneer aviator in the 1930s, General James Jimmy Doolittle was the first to test several instruments now universally found in aircraft, such as the artificial horizon and the directional gyroscope. Natural and gifted pilot, this Mason led the daring Doolittle raid on Tokyo in 1942. Yeah, the Pearl Harbor scam for the Pilgrim Father that was FDR. Yeah, and he lives in Oyster Bay, the Pearl Harbor joke. Okay, Doolittle did much to hasten the demise of the German Luftwaffe. All of them are fighting for profit, yet with their friends on both sides. Yeah, jet-propelled fighters like the fast and deadly Messerschmitt Me-262s, and Beaverbrook was the profiteer on the English side of the munitions, but I don't know so much about the German profiteers. But the Krupps were making the massive tank and cross-country vehicles. Okay, the Messerschmitts, don't know who invented them, but the Schmidt name is the most common in the world. Right then, here we go. And that's why on company check, if you're not a registered company or a limited company, and you've not got CEOs and board directors that are worthy of proclaiming, you cover it up using the Smith or the Smith title. Yeah, Doyle, Sir Arthur Conan, born in Edinburgh and educated at Stanihurst. Sherlock Holmes creator, Sir Arthur Doyle. This is the Baker Street irregulars again. This is the intel in Baker Street that ran right into my wife's career under Stella Remington, who's still on the Marks and Spencer's board, and she and her brother worked for a time in Baker Street, now totally taken down off the internet. And this is the man, like every other policeman across our world, who is launched to be a diversion from the crimes that are committed and to bang up the innocents instead of the guilty parties. Doyle was a physician and author responsible. That's like Dr. Ian Fingland, do you get it? A doctor, yeah, and an author. Yeah, but in his fictitious career, he's able to create the world's most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, Baker Street, Billy Connolly's launch, singing with all of those people. Yeah, but how he has become one of the world owners. Dunant Jean-Henri, 1828 to 1919. I wish we had it full screen. It's not quite as potent as it was before. This is the TT joke again. Dunant was a Swiss businessman and social activist, and although his Masonic membership is often written about, it proves difficult to attest. However, this likely Freemason was the philanthropist who in 1863, having seen the first-hand horrors of the wounded soldiers at the Battle of Solferino in Italy 1859, was inspired to found the Red Cross. In 1901, Dunant was the recipient of the first ever Nobel Peace Prize. That's the Red Cross, founded in Switzerland to see through the money laundering and to get the Swiss gold into the vaults where it still is now. Sorry, that is not the TT joke. Here is a different person on the bike. Yeah, Dunlop, William Joseph Joey Dunlop, 1952 to 2000. So he died in his 40s. Born in Ballymoney, Northern Ireland, for the Masons. Yeah, and known to his fans simply as Joey. This world motorcycle racer, best known for the domination of the Isle of Man TT circuit, with the 3 legs for the swastika. Yeah, with the 3 legs for Lord Hollick of Notting Hill, and with the 3 legs for the Indicant movement of Scottish liberty in inverted commas. Okay, OBE for his humanitarian work for the children in Romanian orphanages. Yeah, this is living up to 2000, and that is Romania. Yeah, that was brutalized, and all of the people there are demonized as being fascists. Yeah, and they are entirely in league with the Dunlops and all of the other family names. Dunlop was sadly killed instantly racing in the 125 event when he hit trees at the circle at Tallinn. Yeah, 1 letter missing from St. Allen and Stalin. Yeah, the 3rd of the 3 wise men that profited from World War II. Estonia on 2nd July 2000. Peter Ebdon, born in London, professional snooker player and former world champion. That's not him. This one is much more guilty. This one is a relative of Churchill, this one is a relative of Hitler, and this one is a relative of Rothschild. Yeah, this is Edward VII. Okay, for a time in Naples, when he was not allowed to take over the throne, because I believe he was the successor to Prince Eddie that was the Jack the Ripper murder, and even Sherlock Holmes could not solve that. I've got it sussed. Yeah, and that is the in hell jokes for all of the people, because the Jack the Ripper story cuts out the female Pi Piso Fanny. Yeah, he's got the ermine for the Roman road that leads to Plymouth, and he's got all of the massive sceptres and icons of greatness, and all of the citizens of Malta jokes that the police have on their lapel too. Son of Queen Victoria, yep, that's correct, but the Rothschilds was his dad. King Edward VII staunchly supported and advanced masonry during his short reign. Yet he's the one that killed Marcos Manoel. Yeah, Orcafat, described by Greg Hallett and James Henry Fetzer, and I've got it archived again on there. Yeah, with the modern person from Germany being Merkel. Son of Queen Victoria, formerly the Prince of Wales and subsequently King of the United Kingdom and the Colonies, 1901, totally illegitimate. During this reign, he helped to modernise the Royal Navy and improve the medical facilities of the British Army. King Edward was the first and only monarch in the House of Saxe Coburg. His son, King George V, prudently renamed this prior to war with Germany in World War I to become the House of Windsor. So that is the Albrecht joke for Albert, yeah, the lover of Queen Victoria, which is a total lie, because he's the poof with the chain through his willy. An active Freemason through his life, when Edward as the Prince of Wales was installed as Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge Ugly, see Lodges and Links, in 1874, he gave great impetus to the fraternity. The Prince was a great supporter of and publicist of Freemasonry. As Grand Master he regularly appeared in public, both at home and on his tours abroad, laying the foundation stones of public buildings, bridges, dockyards, churches, all with due Masonic ceremonial. His presence ensured publicity, and reports of Masonic meetings at all levels appeared regularly in the national and local press. Under his patronage, Freemasonry was constantly in the public eye, and Freemasons became known in their local communities. From 63 in 1814, the Grand Lodge had grown to 2,850 lodges. Yeah, when from 1814, yeah, when the last count was 637. When the Prince resigned the Grand Mastership on becoming king in 1901, Edward VII, the abdicated bastard below, yeah, let me show you this one first, massive mobster, yeah, as wide as he was tall, yeah, and this one is the abdicated king who he passes it on to, also a Mason, yeah, also a sexual deviant, with the woman that is the hermaphrodite halfway through the scale between man and woman, which is perfect for a public school boy like him. Okay, King Edward VII was infamously known as the king who abdicated his throne for the love of American divorcee Mrs Wallis Simpson. Third husband loads of second-hand car salesmen as lovers, according to Greg Hallett. Controversial king of Great Britain and Ireland, who in 36 famously abdicated the throne less than 1 year after becoming monarch, 1 year before the stammering king made his speech at Ibrox, perfectly lucidly without any training from the other Freemason who is Logue, who we'll see in a few minutes. Okay, and that is the Loki joke for all of the Freemasons and the replacement of the Norse gods. This is the one that was right up into the 1970s and 80s the person who walked onto the Wimbledon field and gave the trophies to all of the false plants like Andy Murray, who's just a cover for all of the Murray mafias that have led to the stealing of the world from its people. Prince Edward, George Nicholas Paul Patrick Field Marshal, HRH the Duke of Kent. Yeah, and you can see how much the tennis fan Cliff Richard is suffering since I made the video on the Duke of Northumberland and all of these sad bastards, yet being in the lodge, in the secret society, yet as the king, the queen and the murderous emperors that see through the launch of every great war. All England lawn tennis and croquet club presenting trophies to the winner and runner-up. Also the United Kingdom's special rep for international trade and investment, like the son of Prince Charles and the murdered Diana, who was, the brother of those people is Prince Andrew, the international trade delegation boss, for 10 years before he and his friends in the royal family blew it up with the help of Intel and the Baker Street Irregulars. Okay, we've explained that Eiffel was a Freemason already. Here he is, Gustave Eiffel. Let's skip that. Yeah, the French concept of freedom is totally decrepit. Eisel Don Fulton, Don Eisel, born in Columbus, Ohio. So who's the spaceman here? He's an Air Force Institute of Technology at the Wright-Patterson, Ohio, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, with an MSc in aeronautics and becoming a project engineer and test pilot. The test pilots are the people in the Right Stuff movie who get picked for these roles. Two of the Apollo crew, Don Eisel, Wally Schirra and Walter Cunningham, yet a legendary name in Scottish treason, yet with a private drinking club at the Kelsall Racecourse, and that is Archie Cunningham of the Liam Neeson film that is about Scottish treason and the English Cunninghams coming over the border and being the fencing champions. Yet that is I forget the name of the movie, shagging the wife on the kitchen table, yeah, of Rob Roy McGregor, Rob Roy movie, yeah. This time with Liam Neeson as the good guy, defending Scotland's freedom. Earl of Elgin, see Bruce Andrew Douglas, Alexander Thompson, Ellington, Edward Kennedy Duke as a jazz composer. Okay, so all of them are faked up. All of the plans that we go to the moon are just a fairy story, and all of the Russians getting there first is the launch of the Cold War after FDR was taken down by God because of his evil role in World War III. He is Franklin D. Roosevelt. R is quite near the bottom of the fourth video. Yeah, it's a massive, endless list of profiteers and mass murderers. Ellison McCartney, Sir William Grey. Yeah, that's the McCartneys of Liverpool. This one was born as William Grey Ellison. He's on the rich list now, in Dublin, Ireland, the son of John William Ellison, the Conservative MP for Tyrone in the British House of Commons. His father changed the family surname to Ellison McCartney in 1859. That's Lord McCartney of Liverpool, who traded with the Mohamed Ali in the massive Indian empire scams for the empire upon which. Educated at Eton and Exeter College, Oxford. Let's take you down, make it pictures only. Falcon Scott, Ellsworth Oliver, Irvin Jr. Samuel James Sam, Senator from North Carolina. Here's Faber John Everard, no picture. This one is a legend. Yeah, sexual actor. I can't remember his name. He is Douglas Fairbanks Sr., real name Douglas Elton Thomas Ullman, actor, screenwriter, director and producer, Freemason Supreme. Yeah, nice little tash. Yeah, if you're in the female gender and you're not allowed to be a Mason. Yeah, the thief of Baghdad, do you get it? Everything that is religious is the tool that they use, and look who's next. Okay, after W.C. Fields, real name William Claude Dukenfield. Fields was an iconic American comedian and actor known for his raspy voice, bulbous nose and sardonic disposition. So he has a nose like J.P. Morgan, yeah. And who's this? Who is this? Yeah, the biggest cause of death in world history. He's a Fisher of the Austrian nobility. Archbishop Geoffrey Fisher was the president of the World Council of Churches from 1946, yeah, 1 year after the Great Cull, to 1954. Yeah, and you know why Pope Benedict resigned now. Okay, there is another one with all of those icons on his gear, yeah, in the Masonic Lodge, receiving a prize. This is the only Fleming on the list, because he is relatively innocent, unlike the double agents in wartime. Yeah, Sir Ian, this is Sir Alexander Fleming, who used to work at Imperial College like me, and the Welsh fullback. Okay, he shared a Nobel Prize in 1945 for his world health-changing achievement, a busy Freemason when time allowed, member of the London Scottish Rifles, Lodge number 2310. You now know the Fleming jokes are that they launch Scottish widows all over the warmongering world. There he is, getting his award from goodness knows from whom. Okay, and let's go get more names in. Cyril Fletcher, the Fletchers were on the Mayflower. Paul Henrik Fulch, Gerald Ford, yeah, the 38th President. Ford was 25-year congressman and minority leader of the House. He's not important enough to have a picture. He was appointed Vice President of the US in the wake of the spiral with the word ePISOde in it, Agnew scandal, and when President Richard Nixon resigned in '74, he became President Gerald Ford. This is the one that saw Rupert Murdoch coming in, using the funding from the busted Nugan Hand Bank, yeah, dismembering Britain's sovereignty and its newspapers, and then all of a sudden he becomes the world leader, and he picks all of the subsequent world leaders in inverted commas. Ford, Gwilly Samuel Newton Glenn, no pictures. Yeah, Glenn Ford was a Canadian-born actor. Henry Ford was from Irish and Belgian descent. Yeah, quite treasonous combo there. Following a few false starts, he founded the Ford Motor Company in 1903 and introduced a large-scale assembly line production, thereby creating the first widely available lightweight and affordable model car, the model that is the Christian cross joke, the Model T. Yeah, do you get it? Christian cross with Jesus hanging off the T. It's the golf T. It is the crucifix for John Wayne, who is cited in many of the pages because he's the world's most famous Freemason in Hollywood. This vehicle was introduced on 1st of October 1908. By the end of production in 1927, 15 million had been produced. Of his mass production ethos, Ford wrote in his biography, "A customer can have the car painted any colour he wants so long as it's black." The fascism joke for the global colours. Franklin Benjamin Bain, he's the one that invented the lightning conductor, travelled all over Europe, and he met Freemason Erasmus Darwin, the man who's immune from the plague, I think, the grandfather of Charles Darwin. Oh no, it's not that Erasmus. Okay, Franco, and this is the most famous American printer, that's Benjamin Franklin. Ben Franklin was an author, diplomat, philosopher and scientist. Contributions to the American Revolution and the newly formed Fed government that followed rank him among the country's greatest statesmen. Franco y Beaumont Salgado Pardo de Andrew Ramon, a pioneer aviator and Spanish politician, also brother of dictator Francisco Franco, General Franco. That's Miss Jean Brodie's fan base for all of the fascists, right into Mussolini's Italy. And here we've got another historic character by the looks of things, Frederick the Great, yeah, another one of those Germanic linkages, okay, of whom Napoleon stated, if this man were still alive, I would not be here. Frederick II the Great as King of Prussia from 1772 until 1786. Frederick was an effective military commander, also a music composer, patron of literature, the arts, and institutor of many social reforms. Also aspired to be a Platonic philosopher king like the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, on the same bloodlines as the Queen and FDR. He joined the Freemasons in 1738 and stood close to the French Enlightenment movement. Yeah, that is 3 years before the culling of the Stuart claimants to the British throne, with all of the French tyrannous Freemasons and the Murrays all around them. French John Denton Pye Pinkstone, Field Marshal, 1st Earl of Ypres, and the massive massacres. Known as the Viscount French between 1916 and 1922, John French was the Anglo-Irish officer who served as the first Commander-in-Chief of the British Expeditionary Force in World War I. His response to the early German advances proved to be muddled, and he was replaced in December 1915 by Butcher Haig, Douglas Haig, C.B. Lowe. Yeah, that's all the Time Team jokes and the Blackadder jokes about Butcher Haig being in the comedies. Yeah, and here's Clark Gable, one of the world's most desirable men, before George Clooney and the Clooney Abbey joke for Christianity was launched. Gable Clark, yeah, and his film, the 1939 Steps film, Gone with the Wind. The whole of decency is gone with the wind, and for them it's made on the eve of the stammering king's speech. Okay, Garibaldi, Giuseppe, skill in rousing the common people in his military exploits, 1807 to 1882. Garfield, this is the murdered president who's the launch of the cartoon character Garfield. The 20th President of the United States, James Garfield, assassinated in 1881. His death the cause of considerable mourning, and he, I believe, was killed by the woman that is... the next one up was Marilyn Monroe's presidential lineage. Okay, Gable was the actor who played opposite nearly every major female star during the 30s, best remembered for Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, and Butler then becomes the inquest chairs in all of the arms to Iraq issues, yeah, that Tony Blair and all of the Bush lineage have just managed to avoid. It happened one night. Okay, so this one's wife, Clark Gable, I did not know this until I read it yesterday. His wife was killed, and her name is Lombard, the financial magnates that are the houses of all of the massive Lombards and Theresa May's husband's capital group. Yeah, right through all of the marshlands that are Docklands in London and the HSBC building so she died in a car crash assisting the US war effort. God gets them all in the end. Right then, Garibaldi, Giuseppe, who's this one? Melodramatic posture. Poet Alexander Pope assured Garrick's fame, saying, "That young man never had his equal, and he never will have a rival." An English actor, playwright, theatre manager, David Garrick, influenced nearly all aspects of theatrical practice. Throughout the mid-18th century he was a pupil and friend of Dr. Samuel Johnson. Yeah, for its time, and they wander around the world like Rab Burns, and all of them are archivists for all of the world's biggest crimes, yeah, and all of them do the same role as Arius Calpurnius Piso and all of his lackeys in the writing up of everything that is false history. For its time, Garrick's realistic style of acting was revolutionary. Right then, next one is a Gates, maybe the rich list lineage. Gates John, known as Betamillion Gates, he founded the Texaco Oil Company and popularised the use of barbed wire. I forget who profits from the barbed wire empire, but that is like the Flemings profiting from the sandbags empire. Yeah, and it's in the Great Escape movie when he's all wrapped in it. Gatling Richard Jordan. Largely misunderstood, Gatling thought that his invention would put an end to war, or at least see fewer soldiers on a battlefield. Yeah, that's the Gatling guns at Amritsar. Yeah, for the peaceful protesters and the empire which the Queen still runs ruthlessly. Gatling Richard Jordan, 1818 to 1903. In 1861 invented his now famous Gatling gun, the world's first practical machine gun. The principles, and let's keep going. Yeah, here's another one of the German Freemasons. Yeah, and the Navy in America named a Gatling ship after his honour. Here we go. Who's this one? Relatives of Johnson, Cameron, Boris Johnson, David Cameron, all in these lineages. Prince Regent King George IV presided over the Allies' victory in the Napoleonic Wars. He's the one who knighted Rothschild, who went down on his ordinary working man's left knee, and when he did that in the movie, the colour came into Hollywood's output. Yeah, that's the launch of colour movies, with the knighting by these illegitimate bastard children all across Europe. Yeah, and all of them launched the secret societies and all wars for profit for both sides, and to keep the number of poor people down. And now the poor people are the only thing that fund the countries, because all of it comes from tax. None of it comes from the banks that they totally own still. King George IV, George Augustus Frederick, 1762 to 1830. Yeah, just after the Butcher of Cumberland has done the dirty in 1745. Yeah, and he lived in Berkhamsted in Hertfordshire near the Rothschilds. Yeah, George IV became King of Hanover and the United Kingdom of Great Britain, openly declared this time, after his dad's 60-year reign. On the death of his father George III on January 1820 until his own death 10 years later. From 1811 until his accession he served as Prince Regent during his father's fight with and relapse into mental illness. Presumably the father was a good guy, and here we've got now the stammering king coming on the scene, yet the crime scene for World War II. George IV led an extravagant lifestyle that contributed to the fashion of the British Regency. He's the Brighton guy with the sexual chair, yeah, so he can get into the deviancy that all of them pursue. He was patron of new forms of leisure, style and taste. He commissioned John Nash to build the Royal Pavilion in Brighton and remodelled the Buck Palace, which he'd gotten from the Hanoverians that were Queen Victoria's lover, or that's still to come, and ordered Sir Geoffrey Wyatville to rebuild Windsor Castle. He was instrumental in the foundation of the National Gallery in London and King's College London. Yeah, do you get it? Here's the king, in inverted commas, the king of the Freemasons. Yeah, the stammering king who made the speech to the Italian Brotherhood in Ibrox, wearing the Shriners' black fez on their head. Every one of the Scottish traitors that do not go to war but send their own children, or the ignorant people who are not yet privileged enough to be able to profit from the munitions, yeah, and all of the massive deals and land grabs that then ensue. This is the stammering king who won the Oscar. Okay, all the same icons all the way through. Yeah, and you can see that it's tied with a bunny ear logo at the back. Isn't that funny? Okay, there he is, close up. The stammering Oscar winner. white gloves. King George, yeah, in his right hand, that's the white icon for death. Whittingham for the Balfours. King George the VI, Albert Frederick Arthur George, 1895 to 1952. Yeah, King of England and the nations of the Commonwealth. That is the Empire exhibition that he made the speechless, yeah, errorless speech, yet to those Italian brothers 2 years before he declared war, with the use of Logue, who's another Freemason on this list. Okay, when his elder brother King Edward VIII abdicated his throne during the First World War, Prince Albert had served in the Royal Navy and in 1923 married Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon. That's the body double, because the real Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon fucked off to Denmark, and Greg Hallett has discussed all of that with people in Scandinavia and with Jim Fetzer in America. They had 2 daughters, Princess Elizabeth and Princess Margaret. The lineages are totally skewed. The parents of those pair are Winston Churchill, and that fat Edward VII is the parent illegitimately of Winston Churchill through the Churchill lineage from Blenheim that was gifted them for the Orange Wars and the giving up, yeah, of all of our democracy to William of Orange. The 1930s were a time of global turmoil, and world events greatly altered the position. Do you get it? This is the joke that I keep telling you about the man that had to declare war. Initiated into Navy Lodge number 2612 in December 1919 and stated that he had always wanted to become a Freemason. Navy Lodge had been founded by his grandfather King Edward VII. Yeah, that's grandfather in inverted commas. No mention of Churchill in this. Gibbon Edward was the author best recognised for writing the classic history of the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. That's the New World Order authors, which include the real parent Winston Churchill of Queen Elizabeth I and Queen Margaret, Princess Margaret, who has a sexual propensity that is all over my website. She loves to have sex with 2 black men at the same time. And all of those fascists' vents that they thought were undetectable have now been uncovered by me and hundreds or maybe even hundreds of thousands of global activists. Yet there is no way that they can suppress these truths anymore. Okay, so let's get away from the stammering king. It's totally disgusting. It's the killing of all of his subjects as his brother, yeah, parties in France with Mrs Simpson. And Mr Simpson is now Homer Simpson, the world's most listened to man. That's how the news media work. King Gillette, founder of the world famous Gillette razor companies. A universally famous American businessman, inventor and manufacturer, Gillette is credited with developing the safety razor and all the health and safety things that I forget what the name of the smoking man was at Otago University even now, my old boss. And here's another spaceman for you, so we can worship them and see what their scientific achievements have been. This is John Glenn, the leader in the Right Stuff movie. Yeah, Glenn, John Herschel's. The Herschels are the people that survived the oh no, sorry, that's the Hershey's. But Helen Hirsch, do you get the lineage that he's coming from? Helen Hirsch is a Rothschild. She's in the Ralph Fiennes joke that he is Goethe, the devil, the man who makes a deal with the devil, and he's able to shoot the death camp victims from his balcony and shag Helen Hirsch in the downstairs sector. Goethe, here's Goethe, isn't that timely? Johann Wolfgang, a German writer and polymath, considered by many to be the most important writer in the German language. Yeah, all of the myths, he is the devil incarnate. Gold, and that's in the massive movie that is made by in Russia about the love affairs with featuring the actor who was in the last Valley movie. and is the friend of Dr. Jones from Dunedin, who played bridge with him, Omar Sharif. Yeah? Huge jokes about the German master race and the Aryan families that lead the world ever since. Marcus Aurelius, yeah, was in Germania. Gold, Sir Arthur Abraham, no pictures. Arthur Gold was the UK's patriarch of athletics and administrator and pioneer campaigner. See my videos last week on Princess Anne the Profiteer in 2012 when they laugh at the Gallipoli cull. Goldwater, Barry Morris of Anglo-Jewish ancestry, no pictures. Yet do you see, every religion is covered. Every one of these warmongering institutions that are the lodges are filled with Islamic people, they're filled with Jews, they're filled with Christians, and it gives you divide in every sector. Who's this one? Fine looking player. Is it a violin? No, it's not a violin. It's gold all over his desktop. Painting of Sir George Grey by Daniel Lewis Mundy. Yeah, born in Lisbon, Portugal, just days after his father was killed in action at the savage battle of Badajoz, Spain. Educated in Guildford, Surrey, he became a soldier, explorer, governor of South Australia, governor of New Zealand, governor of Cape Colony, South Africa, and the Premier of New Zealand. Yeah, more powerful still, the GGs and their unelected leaders, than any elected person in those massively persecuted countries. They don't even know they're persecuted because they're so keen on sport. Greenwood and all of the England managers are on this list. Don Revie's on it. This is Ron Greenwood, Lancashire born, played football for Brentford, Chelsea and Fulham in the 1950s. Gained fame, successful management of West Ham United between 61 and 74. He oversaw the development of footballing greats as Bobby Moore, Geoff Hurst and Martin Peters. Finally, from 77 to 82, managed England's national team to considerable success. Ron Greenwood was initiated into the Lodge of Proven Fellowship, London in 1956. There's no pictures of him. And you now understand why Brian Clough was not picked, because of the Duke of Northumberland's links to Algie Clough, yeah, and the people from the Alpine region that are the Thuringians. And this is my mate from Dunedin, the boss of the microbiology department, who was one of the chairs of the inquest into me being booted out of my job because I took my department to be the best in the medical school across 3 centres. That is Dunedin, Christchurch, that got the earthquake within a year of me leaving, and then the massive place that is Auckland. It's Wellington, the joke about the Rothschilds, and Lord Wellington from disloyal Ireland. This is Frank Griffin. Yeah, and it's there he is. He puts injections up the arses of the deer industry victims of a thing called Johne's disease. Yeah, and he told me before I left that Ireland was fixed now and it was all about socio-economic welfare, and he refused to show up on my last few weeks when he promised me a golf game. Yeah, massive mobster. It used to say on the website that I'm citing here, this is the St Patrick Lodge, and all St Patrick's links to disloyal Irishmen and the Irish Troubles. Yeah, socio-economic welfare. Massive money earner. I got him to speak 3 times in my department because I admired him so much. Total traitor. Okay, Griffin, John Francis Thomas, born in Avoca, County Wicklow, in the very rural southeast of the country, quintessential Irishman. Yeah, failed to show up for the golf match. Professor of Microbiology and Immunology at the University of Otago, Dunedin, New Zealand. In 2010, awarded the Royal Society of New Zealand's Pi Pickering Medal for 30 years research into diseases in large animals and the practical application of technology. His work is estimated to have saved New Zealand deer industry, that said 66 million before, yeah, and it's now been changed to 90 million. Yeah, for political correctness reasons, Frank is very active member of Lodge St Patrick number 468 in New Zealand, yet still St Patrick in New Zealand. The whole of the country has been sold to the Queen, who's owned it ever since her members became illegitimate. Right then. So there's another spaceman. One thinks it's got the NASA logo. This is Gus Grissom, the man who shot the pooch. Yeah. Yeah, who was unlucky enough to be caught by God when he splashed down and panicked. Yeah, and ejected the door, which made the pod sink, and all of that is the Gus Grissom film. That is the same man who botched the campaign in the Great Escape movie in the tunnel because he panicked. Yeah, do you get it? The same actor plays both roles in those movies. I forget his name. You remember the Great Escape movie and him panicking on the little wheelbarrow thing that was underneath, and they end up being one of the few that managed to escape from the Third Reich, run by Hitler Rothschild, who's the dad of Miss Merkel. Okay, and there's the invention of the guillotine. A physician and French revolutionary advocated a more humane method of death for condemned prisoner. The now infamous contraption he invented for the purpose forever bears his name, the guillotine. Haig, Douglas, Field Marshal, 1st Earl Haig, yet visited his museum in the Royal Mile in Edinburgh this week. Yet his bloodline is now totally mined out because they're so evil. It's the Chancellor at St Andrews, yeah, and he is a massive mass murderer, and he's so fond of his horses that that's all he can think about at the end of the campaign. Yeah, and his Batmen were Desmond Morton in World War I, and Desmond Morton by World War II was big enough to be the Batman and chief administrator for Winston Churchill, the biggest killer in the world, and also a Freemason with all of these. Yeah, do you get the Gus Grissom? Yeah, the accident that I am a panic merchant and I can bring the campaign down, and all of it is all through the movies that they make. Okay, and here's another one. Who's this one? Hayes Jr., Fred Wallace. Bill Paxton played one of the leads in the movie docudrama of a space journey whose raison d'etre was to land on and explore the moon's surface. Let's get on to some more serious crimes. Harding, Warren Gamaliel, 29th President of the... Oh, Bill Gamo and Gamaliel in the Bible. Harding was first incumbent US Senator and newspaper editor to be elected President. Yeah, that's Rupert Murdoch now does the job of picking them, but this one was the newspaper editor who became the President and a precedent for corrupted world leadership. Okay, and these ones are much more interesting because this is the Hardys of Alnwick, and my favourite hairdressers have the picture of these pair in their hairdresser shop opposite the police station where I was arrested for my political activism. Okay, there they are. Oliver Hardy was one half of possibly the most famous comedy duo in history, Laurel and Hardy. The silent movies, like the colour movies. Yeah, the silent movie features the Austrian jokes about the kidnapping of King Richard the Lionheart. Yeah, and all of that is covered. When they make the colour movies, the story has completely changed. Okay? Legendary American comedian Oliver Hardy was famous for the slapstick abuse he inflicted upon his partner, English-born Stan Laurel. They are from they have freemanship of one of the towns near Frankfurt in the German master race countries. I forget what it is. I think it begins with the word ing, yeah, which is the killing of all of the world's pagans. Ingestan or Ingestal. Haydn, Franz Joseph, prolific Austrian composer, no pictures. Hoban, Edgar Hoover, Hogarth William, masterful English painter, printmaker, pictorial satirist. Hoover, Frank, creator of possibly the most famous brand of vacuum cleaners in the world. And this is J. Edgar, and he's the one that makes the statements that everything you believe is a lie, because that is the state of the world that we now have, and it's the state of the American elections, which are coming to a peak within hours of Remembrance Sunday. The first director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, is remembered for fighting organised crime during the Prohibition era and for pursuing a vigorous anti-communist campaign. Yeah, that's how they culled them, using Lucky Luciano and all of the American mobsters who were taken to Italy and France to kill the returning troops, having been dispossessed of their weapons. And that is the radical wars in the Scottish equivalent. Yet run by Peel of the Peelers, out of the Baker Street myth that is the Metropolitan Police being good guys. Following the death of President Warren Harding, Hoover was appointed the 6th Director of the Bureau of Investigation in 1924 by President Calvin Coolidge, all of them Masons. J. Edgar attended Federal Lodge No. 1, Washington, D.C. Yeah, and all the Kellys, all the bad guys, that's Ned Kelly and the Dillingers, yeah, they get the pretense that they've been brought to justice. There is none of that. Hornish Jr. Samuel John, racing driver, yeah, I don't think we need to spend much time on that. Harry Houdini, the magic jokes, real name Eric Weiss, yeah, Eric and Ernie Wise, yeah, all of the Ernestine and Albertine jokes about the Austro-Hungarian monarchs and who's entitled to be the next holy fucking Roman emperor and murder as many of the world's citizens as he can. Harry Houdini was initiated into Freemasonry on 21st August 1923, St Cecile Lodge No. 568, New York. Sam Houston, Scottish-Irish descent, soldier, politician and statesman, no pictures. See Bowie, Crockett and Travis. Yeah, whole series of jokes about the Alamo and people fighting in revolutions for the causes that are the banking empires in those countries. Howley, William Howley, here's Sir Leonard Len Hutton. Wisden Cricketer's Almanac credits Len Hutton with being one of the greatest batsmen in the history of the sport. Yeah, did he also run his sport in wartime? No, he won the Ashes in 1953. In 52 he became the first professional cricketer. Also took up a lengthy career as a representative for an engineering firm called Fenners. Okay, not this time making his massive inningses and earnings in wartime like the earlier one we told you about, Don Bradman. Sir Henry Irving is thought to have been the inspiration for the title character in Bram Stoker's novel Dracula. That is the same beach that launched Captain Cook, yeah, and it is the same cliff that launched the cemetery that this man was buried in, onto the beach at, I forget the name of the resort that Jimmy Savile was a freeman of, Scarborough. Yeah, it's a scar on the world history, and my wife used to go there because she knows all of the business scams in that region, and she is also an admirer, like my in-laws, of the Cooks who sent, and the Cook is on the Freemasonic list. I can't think why we failed to see him. I must have missed him already. No, and here's James test pilots on YF-12 interceptor program. Irwin Colonel James Benson. This is the Bensons that taught me how to be a neuroscientist. Yeah, and the money launderers and war treasures launderers now in Basel, Switzerland, right next door to where I played rugby for Mulhouse. Yeah, and the 3 massive pharma companies in that Swiss town that hosts the Bank of International Settlements. Yeah, born in Pittsburgh, Colonel James Benson Irwin was of Scottish-Irish descent. Yeah, and the Lockheed, yeah, that's the Lockheed Wars, and all of the profiteering that was done by Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands, and all of the millions of pound bungs that he got to do that as he was in charge of the reparations post-war. Yeah, do you get the treason? It's all over the story. And there's the moonshot again, and all the footprints under the craft. That's the easiest one to solve of all. Here we've got somebody that is an actor with the Oscar, and he is Burl Ives, Ivanhoe Ives. Yeah, like the Walter Scott who's on the list of Masons. Yeah, it's going to take me a long time to get to him. Jackson Andrew, 7th President, first Westerner to be elected, in inverted commas. Old Hickory, Andrew Jackson. Jackson Senior Reverend Jesse Jackson, a Baptist minister. Jackson Robert Howat Jackson, How Wout, Attorney General, 1940 to 1941, when the war's already started. Yeah, and they're looking to shed blame on criminals in America, and they cannot find any. President Harry S. Truman, see below. Yeah, he's the one who sold Israel. Yeah, partitioned Palestine, got $2 million for that. Yeah, it's all over my website for years and years. President Harry S. Truman, as point of Jackson's career, came when he was appointed President's U.S. Chief of Counsel for the prosecution of Nazi war criminals. Prince Bernhard, who's selling the aircraft, yeah, does not get any heat as the war criminal, because he was appointed by the man who's a relative of Marlene Dietrich, who was the General Commander-in-Chief of everything that happened beyond the beach for Tom Hanks at Normandy. And his name was Ike Eisenhower, yeah, the boss for Prince Bernhard, allegedly. Bodyline cricket captain Douglas Jordan, yeah, dangerous fast bowler. Bodyline, yeah, massive jokes about how the whole world has now succumbed to health and safety, but we're still allowed to commit genocide in the Holy Lands. Yeah, Bradman, biggest threat to England, yeah, all of it. Look at the massive paragraph that Don Bradman was doing his stuff in wartime, playing cricket and entertaining all of the people that are working in the profiteering in the War Office for the biggest fascists in the world. Jeffries John, now I understand why John Jeffries has been dragged into the rugby limelight. A physician, scientist and pioneer balloonist, an American Revolutionary War loyalist and military surgeon with British forces, John Jeffries made the first crossing of the English Channel by balloon, the air balloon joke that for Jesus never quite getting back home, for Lily Allen, the Essex girl. Yeah, let's keep going, we're getting well down it, I might get halfway through. There he is. Sorry, this is John Rushworth Jellicoe, Admiral of the Fleet. Yeah, Governor General of fucking New Zealand. Battle of Jutland, Admiral John Jellicoe became Governor General of New Zealand. Yeah, the whole of it is given away, and all of it is made to look romantic. Who's this one? A thinker, perhaps, yeah, with the Piso pen and the plume in his hand. Medical pioneer Edward Jenner was the father of immunology. A pioneer English scientist and physician, Edward Jenner really studied his natural surroundings in Berkeley, Gloucestershire, England. From a scientist's perspective, Jenner is widely credited as the creator of the vaccine for smallpox, sometimes referred to as the father of immunology. Okay, let's move on. John Hunter's FRS, who proposed Jenner for membership of that lethal Royal Society. Yeah, and all of their offshoots, which are all of the botanical gardens, all of the money laundering narcotics empires, and all of the stuff that I've told you about the Royal Institute for International Affairs, RIIA, which is Chatham House, the secret society, and the launch of Intel, right through the Bank of England. Board members: Johnson Andrew, 17th President of the United States, remember these are all Masons. An attempt to unseat Secretary of War Edwin Stanton led to his impeachment on purely political grounds. 1808 to 1875, he was acquitted by only one vote. In 1851, Johnson was initiated into Greenville Lodge, Tennessee, and was member of the Greenville chapter, Royal Arch Masons. He received Scottish Rite degrees in the White House in 1867. Maybe gets autographs from the astronauts who planted the Scottish Rite's flag on the moon. This is the Jew that plays the black man and sings the songs, joking that all of them are now over there in Poland where he fucked off from. Asa Jolson began using the name Al Jolson when singing for coins on street corners. This talented American went on to greatness as a vaudeville and film performer whose trademark was minstrel style singing in blackface makeup. His fame was assured from 1927 when he starred in the groundbreaking The Jazz Singer. I think that was also the topic for a silent movie, ironically. Oh no, sorry, this is the joke. The first talking motion picture with synchronized sound. Jolson was a Freemason in St. Cecile Lodge number 568, New York. Right, we might get finished the first half. Who's this one? Got his hand on his badge. Jones, John Paul Jones, Captain John Paul Jones, born in Scotland, master for sailor, father of the United States Navy in an action off the coast of Yorkshire against the Royal Navy in 1779, when taunted to surrender by Captain Pi Pearson of HMS Serapis. Jones shouted, "I have not yet begun to fight." Following hours of battle, Jones captured the Seraphim, though his own vessel, the Bonhomme Richard, later sank due to battle damage. Jones received awards from the French and went on to command Russian naval vessels in their war against the Ottoman Empire. That would be the campaign in Gallipoli again. The massive balaclava jokes about sinking the English ships in the harbour and everybody not being allowed to return home. And here you've got Lions International. I'm not sure what this is. Freemason Melvin Jones founded the Lions Club International. Okay, not sure what this is laughing at. You can't get very far until you start doing something for somebody else, and this became the guiding principle for the Lions Clubs International, which the Arizona-born Jones founded in June 1917, right in the middle of the war. Lions Clubs are now a beacon for the civic-minded. Melvin Jones attended Garden City Lodge number 141 in Illinois. Then we've got Pablo Juarez, first Native American president of Mexico, where the peso currency is still used. Juarez, Benito Pablo, served 5 terms as president, elected there. Today Juarez is remembered as being a progressive reformer dedicated to democracy, equal rights, great power that the Roman Catholic Church then held over Mexican politics, and the defence of national sovereignty. Kahn, Gustav Gerson, Gus Kahn, born in Koblenz, Germany. Gus Kahn became a prolific and masterful songwriter for Broadway and Hollywood musicals. His memorable songs include Toot Toot Tootsie Goodbye, a hit for Al Jolson, It Had to Be You, and Yes Sir, That's My Baby. Keane Edmund, an English actor, no pictures, Shakespearean interlocks to the New World Order authors. This one is, I think, The Man Who Took the Burn. Oh no, it's not. Charles Glenn King is the little known American discoverer of vitamin C and B. King Charles Glenn, American biochemist, better known as vitamin C. King was also later responsible for establishing the important function of vitamin B. King Admiral Ernest Joseph Admiral King was Commander-in-Chief of the US Fleet in 1941 and Chief of Naval Operations, no pictures of him, from 1942 to 1945. King was an exceptionally abrasive individual, yeah, but a brilliant organisational commander. Lived 1878 to 1956, an amazingly long life. Okay, and here we've got Kipling, I think. Yeah, it is. This is a massive, massive pan-continental, the asset stripping of Asia joke, and the Jungle Book, yeah, and the Menagerie of Animals. Kipling, Joseph Rudyard, 1865 to 1936, born in Mumbai with a population of 80 million people, all of them living in squalid poverty, with the massive tower block buildings that is the financial centre of that city, which I visited in 2006. Yeah, when my uncle Gilbert, the Scottish accountant from the places that are the centres for the Hessies of Hamilton. Yeah, that's Hamilton. Thank you to the people from Hamilton for telling me about Scottish history and the links to the borders the other evening, and that the Scottish company that is now, that has built the Scottish Parliament building in that cheapskate way, is actually called the Lend-Lease Company, or the Bovis Lend-Lease Company. Massive jokes about the evil, evil history of the citizens and taxpayers having to fund the great conflicts for all of these sickly profiteers. Many of Kipling's works have strong Masonic themes. Right, let's get on. Yeah, this is the launch of the elephant empires and the false religion that is the Baba jokes and all of the Babenhaus Rothschild links. Yeah, and Brother Kipling accepted recognition from Freemasonry by being named one of 40 living fellows of the Philalethes Society. Yeah, he's in all sorts of mother lodges. Yeah, he's secretary of many of them, a real enthusiast. And this is Lord Kitchener, who used to point at you and say, your country needs you. Winston Churchill had him killed in the North Atlantic because he was a professional soldier and wanted to end the profiteering war. Yeah, that Winston Churchill was in the in the Navy profiteering sector. Yeah, he had him killed by chucking him off the gunboat, and he's the one that led the bloody Red Nile battles. Yeah, for the joke that the Nile flows through Egypt, and that is the rivers of blood, and that is the Mad Mahdi, who's the Shriner in the Masons. Yeah, with the fez on, like they were at Ibrox in the lead up in the Empire speech to the Great War that the stammering king launched. And they have no guilt about the making of that movie and it winning the Oscar. Okay, Kitchener, Earl Horatio at the Bridge, born in County fucking Kerry, Irishman. Kitchener joined the Royal Engineers. He served south of Egypt in the Sudan and launched a campaign to retake the country from Al-Mahdi. Do you get it now? All of that played by Charlton Heston, yeah, from the gun lobby in America. And the Colt people were just in the last set of stories that I told you in episode 1. Colto Rivera, Mark Edwards, scholar, scientist, social critic and writer. Let's pass him by. Yeah, politically correct and very jovial looking character. Yeah, this is a different one though. This is Kenny Klein, yeah, necked. The Klein Abbey, the Cluny Abbey, is the same joke as false religion for 2,000 years, with fellow Freemasons, astronauts Don Issel, Wally Shearer, prior to their Apollo 7 launch. Do you see how proud America is of its false history? Klein-necked Kenneth Samuel Kenny, a member of Fairview Lodge 699, Ohio, during his working life at the height of the fucking Cold War. Yeah, when we're demonizing the Russians, who are just trying to reveal that oil is renewable and they would like to share that whole resource with all of their people, which is called communism, which needs a massive cull every time it rears its head. Yeah, and that is why the hammer and sickle are on the Austrian flags, because they pretend to be sharing people, but they kill all of the communists immediately after their conflicts are over. Just another project for Klein-necked, the hyperfast X-15 rocket plane. Knox, Major General Henry, American Revolutionary War hero. Knox is the first Secretary of War under the US Constitution. Sebastian Spering Kresge, born in Bald Mountain, for the bald people that are on the Piso Windsor bloodline. Baldwins, yeah, the Baldwins of Hollywood, in all those massive comedic films that are made just to commemorate the world's richest and most genocidal people. Otto Kruger, acclaimed actor and Freemason. Yeah, do you get the Ottoman Empire, the Holy Roman Emperors that were Otto Piso? Yeah, Otto Kruger found his vocation acting, making his Broadway debut aged just 15. Long career, was at its zenith in the 1930s and 40s, though he still made two memorable films in the 1950s, High Noon with Gary Cooper and Magnificent Obsession. Marquis de Lafayette, Marie Joseph Paul Yves Roche Gilbert de Motier, 1757, yeah, right through 1789, the 25 years of conflict that was the French Revolution to get the numbers down, yeah, and to get the Rothschilds really rich. President George Washington, yeah, Frank Sherman, Frank Dad Land, was born in Kansas City. Yeah, I'm not sure what this is telling us. In 1919, the Marquis de Lafayette founded the Ordre de Molay, a Masonically sponsored international youth organisation for boys and young men aged between 12 and 21. Hitler Rothschild had the same idea, and Pope Benedict was in his army. Sir Harry Lauder, yeah, the border families that I loved so much when I was young, now living in that thunder-prone town called Yetton. Sir Henry Harry, born in Portobello, never out of the news recently, yeah, because it was my first lodging place when I went to Heriot Watt, known professionally as Harry Lauder, described by Winston Churchill as Scotland's greatest ever ambassador. His understanding of life, pathos and joy, and that is the you take the high road and I'll take the low road jokes, yeah, that he's licking the arse of people like Sir Winston Churchill, who's the Queen's dad, and the son of that man, the Orcafat, Edward VII. And that means, because of Churchill's inbreeding with the monarchs, Churchill is actually a very, very close relative. He may even be the grandfather of Adolf Hitler. Alois Hitler was his father, and that is all the massive jokes that are now becoming the jokes about Adolf Hitler's semen being used to propagate Miss Merkel's career in politics as a socialist from Eastern Germany. Forgot who this one is. During the American... oh, it's Robert E. Lee, maybe a relative of mine with an S on the end. Inspiration to the soldiers of the Confederate America. Yeah, 1807 to 1870. Every one of them on every side is a Mason, entirely for profit. And here's the Lemons of Celtic. Together with Henry, and sadly Jock Steens on the second or third or fourth lists I'm going to show you. We're now near the bottom of episode 2. Lever, William Hesketh, Leverhulme, born in Bolton, Lancashire, England, industrialist, philanthropist and colonialist in inverted commas. Let's go down. Lewis Merriweather, and here's one with the Flemings hat on. Yeah, remember the stories about the Flemings being the Flamings in the false religion in Rome as they convert from the Greek gods to the totally new and invented gods that mean that God is written out of the Bible when it comes out of Naples eventually. Yeah, this one went to Virtue Lodge. Lewis Merriweather Lewis, with fellow Freemason William Clark, conducted the first overland exploration of North American West and Pacific Northwest. the Mason-Dixon joke for the Jadis and the Macabes. Lindbergh, Charles Augustus, this is the one that has the swastika on his famous world travelling airships. Lipton, Sir Thomas Johnson, 1st Baronet. Lille, Claude Joseph Rouget de, French army officer in the Revolutionary Wars. Liszt, Franz von Liszt, composer in the Hungarian battle zone. Livingston Robert, solicitor, statesman and diplomat. Livingston, a member of the Continental Congress and a founding father of the United States. Yeah, that is the founding of the American democracy, like the Hancock. Yeah, a member of the committee that drew up the American Declaration of Independence, also negotiated the purchase of Louisiana Territory from Napoleon. Yeah, who's a relative, yeah, and married into two elite bloodlines, one of which he was deserted in, and that ended up in the blinded people that were the von Niepergs, yeah, from Naples. A dedicated Freemason, Livingston was appointed the first Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of New York and retained this title until 1801. Manhattan's Grand Lodge's library bears his name. The Holy Bible that Livingston used to administer the oath to office of President George Washington is owned by St. John's Lodge. That's Santiago, the joke about St. John, yeah, going right back to Alexander the Great. And it's still used today when the Grand Master is sworn in, and also by request when a President of the United States is sworn in. It's the same thing. All of them are Masons. Don't know what they're going to do if Hillary wins, which is presumably why she's second favourite now. Yeah, here's another one of the escape artists, like Houdini. Comedy actor Harold Lloyd, most of his own stunts, and lost his right thumb and forefinger in one incident, thank you God, as can be seen here. Okay. Lloyd, Harold Clayton. Harold Lloyd, all-action comedian, famous for doing most of his own dangerous stunts. In one notable incident in 1919, he blew a finger off his right hand. And that might cover up the career of Lloyd Sir Clive Hubert, captain of the West Indies cricket team. Clive Lloyd, can't remember him. Lionel Logue, oh, a perfect place to end the saga. This is the man who helped the stammering king, who did not have a stammer when he made the speech at Ibrox, yeah, to launch World War II. Yeah, he's an out-and-out Mason. He is a joke about Loki, who is the god of comedy in the Norse god listings. Lionel Logue with his wife Myrtle in 1907. The couple had 3 sons. I believe that Ian Fleming is the actor that played the role of Logue in that movie. Yeah, the likeness is uncanny. And he's also involved in the Barbarossa roles in the Pirates of the Caribbean with Johnny Depp. Yeah, and all of the false stories about the murder of those women and the cutting out of their pie fannies. Johnny Depp. Logue, largely forgotten until 2010 when the multi-Oscar winning film The Man Responsible for the Therapeutic Treatment that he provided for King George VI. Let's not take him out of it because it does not look anything like Ian Fleming, this one. Yeah, and his wife the wife of the actor is also involved in the Rothschild marriages, and she is the massive Hollywood presence that is the hyphenated actress that was in the Titanic movie too. Yet the King's speech refocused the world's attention on the man who saved the monarchy. Lionel Logue was the man responsible for the therapeutic treatment that he provided for King George VI. Yet Australian, born in Adelaide, Lionel Logue was the grandson of the Irish brewer Edward Logue, who had established Logue's brewery there in 1850. Lionel was educated at Prince Alfred College between 1889 and 1896, yet was unable to decide what to study.
Yeah, until he happened upon Longfellow's song, the Song of Hiawatha. Then Logue,